Welcome to NJ.com's live chat on the sentencing of Teresa and Joe Giudice. It's been a long day. Vicky Hyman has been in the courtroom. We finally got her. Vicky, how are you?
I'm a little hungry. I got here at 8 o'clock and I haven't eaten all day.
Well, all right, let's get it right down to brass tacks. Teresa Giudice gets 15 months in jail, federal prison, and will serve her term first, correct?
Yes, they're doing staggered sentences because they want somebody at home with the 4 kids, and Joe faces a possibility of deportation, so it wouldn't make sense for him to serve first because then he could be deported.
Were people expecting Teresa to get any jail time? Is this harsh? Is this what? Explain.
I think that people would have been really surprised if she didn't get any confinement at all. Some people were really thinking the judge was going to give her home confinement, but the judge said that the charges were serious enough that they merited incarceration. So they definitely wanted to give her incarceration, but the 15 months is less than the federal sentencing guidelines, which I think are 21 to 27 months. And the judge said that the mitigating factors in her case is that she had no criminal history, unlike her husband. She paid her taxes, unlike her husband. She was a devoted mother. She said very nice things about Joe being devoted to his kids too, but that she's a devoted mother. Her kids are at an important age. She's got her aged parents to take care of. She'll have Joe's not very healthy mother to take care of as well. So those all factored into the reason to give her 15 months.
Well, I mean, I have to say, reaction on NJ.com has been varied here, but a lot of people are considering her lucky that she didn't get more time. I mean, you just said that. One in particular user, registered voter, asks, how much time of the 15 months do you think she'll serve before being paroled for good behavior or at all? I mean, I'm not sure if that's anything that you may know, but what do you think?
It is nothing I may know, Anthony. I do not know that. I mean, yes, obviously people serve less time than what they're given.
Right. Okay. Explain a little bit. Why did this take so long today?
Well, it's very interesting why it took so long. There are some forms that Teresa and Joe have to fill out before their sentencing. They have to declare their assets and their income, so the judge can get a better idea of the people she's dealing with and what their situation is in order to render an effective sentence. And apparently, in the forms that they filled out, they did not declare some of their assets, which is exactly what they got in trouble for their bankruptcy fraud. They didn't declare assets and income there. So here the judge went after them like over and over again, hammering them about rental income they didn't declare on their, actually that was on their bankruptcy case. They did declare the rental income in their in these federal reports, but the jewelry that Teresa said had no value, the expensive designer goods. Joe had a whole slew of construction equipment that weren't on their paperwork, and so there was just a lot of back and forth with her and the judges about that, and the judge was really angry about it.
Well, I want to read a quote from the judge. She said, "They had an obligation to be transparent and candid and open with the court, and I don't think I got that. I want to understand the disconnect."
Mm-hmm.
And so that's exactly the kind of thing you're talking about. I mean, I read in our story today that they declared only $25,000 worth of items in their home, yet they had an insurance policy worth $1 million.
$1 million insurance policy, and they Teresa had apparently showed receipts for like $60,000 in home furnishings during her bankruptcy. So obviously there is a disconnect. There was one of the lawyers was trying to blame the accountants. There was a lot of sort of blaming going on here, and everybody was trying to say, oh well, Joe's father just died, and he's not really been himself. There was just a whole lot of that going on today.
Okay, well, it must have been a circus there today, correct?
Well, I mean, there were a lot of people there. There was the courtroom was full. There was an overflow courtroom as well. But they had very the U.S. Marshal Service wouldn't let anybody tweet or take out any devices at all in the courtroom, and so there was a lot of just waiting there and then like running out when you could to sort of like tweet something or call the editors. So it was kind of a long day.
I can imagine. Real quick, I want to talk about Joe's letter to the court. I'm not going to read it again. I read it in the earlier video that I did, but did that hurt or help him, do you think?
I don't think it helped him because he didn't sound terribly remorseful. And actually, the judge made a distinction after Teresa read her letter, and she actually broke down when she read her letter, that the judge said afterwards, you quite frankly displayed genuine remorse, and I think that was in contrast to Joe. And then she said to Teresa, at the end of the day, I think you finally got it. You finally woke up. Whereas to Joe, the message to him was like, I don't really think you understand, our courts, or I don't think you understand what you did wrong here. I don't think you still understand what you did wrong here.
So she seemed pretty angry. So he gets 41 months in jail. Being that there was a possibility for dozens of years here, this is lenient. I mean, I know it's obviously lenient, but there's room to be slightly happy if I'm Joe Giudice today, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, he could have had like 50 plus years in jail, and a lot of people actually were really upset that he started off so much, and like, why did he end up? Because the sentence was anywhere from like, I don't know, 30 to 47 months or something, and it's very common in these plea deals that people get the sentence get cut down a great deal. I mentioned that Raffaello Folieri, who was Anne Hathaway's boyfriend, the con man from Italy, who was involved in that Vatican scandal. He was, he could have gotten 256 years in prison, and he got, I think, 4 years in prison. So it's not uncommon at all.
Well, okay. Another running theme in our comments today on NJ.com is, or are, the children. User Donna Sullivan says they should have thought of their children before breaking the law. Very sad, and this is true. I mean, there was a sense in the courtroom today, correct, from the judge, that there are kids here, correct? And what will happen?
Well, the judge actually said the exact same thing. You should have thought about your kids before, breaking these laws. But she showed, she really wants to see somebody home with the kids. She did make the point that there are a lot of instances where there are families who have less resources, less other family around to take care of the kids, that, their lawyers are trying to argue that these are extraordinary circumstances, that Joe might be deported, she's got 4 kids at home, and the judge was saying, no, these are really not extraordinary circumstances.
And I forget if we mentioned it earlier, but she's serving first.
She's serving first, yeah. She has to report by January 5th, I believe.
January 5th.
Yeah.
Okay, and one last thing, then, they also have to pay $414,588.90. 90 cents in restitution. 90 cents. Where's that going to come from?
I have no idea. They obviously have a lot of legal bills to pay. I mean, that's not. I mean, they have to pay that. Joe apparently hasn't still paid like $200,000 in taxes. Joe got hit with the $10,000 fine. Teresa got hit with an $8,000 fine. Okay. I have no idea.
All right. Real quick now, there was also mention of Joe entering an alcohol treatment program. How did this come about?
Well, when Miles Feinstein was talking about Joe and the difficulties that he went through with his father, especially, and how he's in a difficult place right now, he just mentioned, kind of apropos of, well, that he thinks that Joe has a drinking problem, and that he's smelled alcohol in Joe's breath, and he seems to be drinking a lot, and he could benefit from alcohol rehab. And I don't know if that was a plea for like Joe to go into a rehab place now. I mean, I guess that's what it was, but the judge did not fall for that. I think the judge did say something about him getting some sort of like alcohol treatment in prison.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, lastly, I'm going to mention the deportation one more time. We spoke a little bit about this yesterday, I think. Mm-hmm. What happens now with Joe Giudice? Now he's going to prison. Mm-hmm. Deported or not, when he gets done, what's going to happen?
The Immigration and Customs Enforcement Bureau of the Department of Homeland Security will basically make that call after he has served a sentence, and not before. So we won't know anything for quite some time. Okay,
Vicki, it's been a long day for all of us here at NJ.com, for you especially, and everyone else there at the courtroom. Is there anything else you want to add? We touched on everything, correct?
I think we pretty much hit everything.
No, yeah, it's crazy.
All right, well, you know what? Enjoy the rest of your night, and get something to eat. And
that's my next thing.
Yes. Stay tuned to NJ.com for constant updates throughout the night, and thank you for joining us.
Posts coming.